So, this is Cheryl Hazzard, and pretty soon I'm going to be turning 40. And I've read that midlife crises can actually start by the time the person is 35 in some cases. And, well, I kind of suspect that started to happen to me. But I thought that I would do a little reflecting on the mentality of what happened as I've been going through mine. Um, my marriage went downhill. The life that I had worked very hard to build. I had struggled with motherhood, even though I love my son very much, and I don't want him or anybody else to think that I don't love him or care about him when I say that, okay? Please don't get me wrong when I say that. And, well, I'd been through a battle with CPS for my son, and it was long and hard and emotionally draining. It took a lot out of me. And I really had to fight for my son, and fight hard, while being made to feel like I wasn't good enough. And so at this point in my life, I'm wanting to try different things. Like, I've been practicing the guitar and learning to play. And maybe I'm not playing high-level complicated stuff on the guitar yet. But, Amazing Grace is starting to sound like Amazing Grace. And I can play a little bit of Ode to Joy. And I'm starting to play some chords and shifting my fingers, trying to get a rhythm going to play them. And just playing around with it a little bit. Because if I feel things are all work and no play, well, But I think part of the midlife crisis is just that big question of what now? What do I do now? For me, my son is becoming a teenager, and that goes with the, having to tell him to do his laundry. He can do it, but he refuses to do it. And, having to tell him 3 or 4 or 5 times to clean up his room or clean up in the living room where he made a mess, and then he doesn't do it. And it's not that he can't do it. He just doesn't want to. And, there's part of me is going through an inner turmoil because my role as a mother should be shrinking and diminishing some. I mean, I will still be his mother, and I should be there to listen to him if he's got, a problem, or, to be at his events as much as I can. But at the same time, my health kind of gave out on me. And, it should be a relief if I don't have to do as much for my son because he can do some things himself. But part of me feels anxious about it. And I don't know how to explain that. I think there's some part of the letting go process that's starting to take place in parenting. Because, I brought my son home from the hospital when he was a baby. That was my baby. And now he's a teenager. And, maybe I'm feeling antsy because, I can't always shield Nathan from the hardness of life. And life is hitting him hard, and it's hitting him fast. And, that feeling of I don't always know what to do as a mother, that I want to know what to do to help my son because I want to be able to help him, and not always having all the answers. And this, in the movie Jerry Maguire, the one guy said to the other one that was dating, what's her name? Played by Renee Zellweger, he said to Tom Cruise's character that, basically single moms, it's like they've been to the show. And so by the time, that I'm turning 40, I feel like I've been to the show. And, so it's kind of an awkward stage of life. I'm having to do things as a single parent. My mother, she's got kidney failure and health problems. I've gone through losing relatives to cancer and having to let go of a lot in a short period of time. And so I think, I could kind of see how the midlife crisis happens. Like, for me, I've been a stay-at-home mom for several years. And, my health has been one thing that's held me back from doing something different. And I'm trying to work on my health. But, it's just feeling like I was stuck doing the same thing over and over again. And it's kind of like, well, what now? And, some people, they work the same job for years and then it becomes what now? Because they've done the same thing over and over again. And they're ready to do something new. And the question pops in of what should I be doing with my life now? Or what would be a good pick right now? And it's after years if they've maybe went to school, went to college, worked at the same job, and then feeling like I'm ready to change direction now, but they have no idea which way they're going. And so there's an internal bit of turmoil or confusion because they don't know what direction to go. And this could be men or females. And then, looking back on my life and, for me, it's like I'm looking back on my life and questioning how I spent my time. Did I spend it with people I love? Did I feel frustrated with who I spent my time with? Was I happy with the way things turned out? Or am I happy with the way things turned out? Do I wish they turned out differently? What did I learn from those experiences? And how did those experiences change me? And was it for the better? Was it for the worst? It's like there's all these questions that start going on in my mind as I near 40. Because I don't look at things the same way that I would have looked at them at, say, 18 when I was first, when I was still in high school. And I graduated high school at 19. I was late to graduate and I was held back in kindergarten a year. But my thinking back then would have been a lot different than my thinking is now. And even the way that I see my potential and see my life is different than the way I would have seen it then. But yeah, there's an internal what now? What do I do now? What do I make of my life now? What should I do with it? And sometimes it takes time to figure out what that thing is. And maybe the thing is, maybe I don't want to, maybe I'm worried that I'll box myself into a corner by making a decision too quickly, that I'll get stuck in one thing and then not be able to do as much as I want to with my life. Like maybe the problem is that I don't necessarily want to just limit myself either. Because one can get stuck in a job they hate doing. And, I've had jobs where I was not that ape about the job. I worked at Amazon and I needed the money, but I didn't love the job. The funny thing is I kept running into people, like I ran into somebody who may have been combating cancer. And I was talking to them about what I knew about how to fight cancer. And I was more passionate about that than I was the job. And I don't know if maybe I was meant to be at the job because maybe I was meant to run into the person who had cancer. Maybe that was the real reason I was meant to be at the job, or that might have been part of it. Who knows with those things? But the job itself, it was like, yeah, I needed a paycheck. But what I really wanted was to love what I do. I want to love what I do and have a passion for what I do and something that just lights me up from the inside. And then I radiate it out, and the world can feel that, or the people around me can feel that. And, we all have that ability to find something where we love what we do and we radiate that joy for what we do. But I think the midlife crisis is partially about that question of what is it that lights me up at this point? What is that? What is it that brings me to life and fulfills me at this point? Because, most likely, people have done the same things for years and they're just kind of like, they just don't feel that spark about whatever it is they're doing, or maybe they need a change in routine or something. Maybe it's they're having difficulty with their kids and maybe they need another tactic for how to deal with their kids, or maybe advice for how to deal with another tactic for the kids. I know what it feels like to have those days where I feel like I'm running around in circles saying the same things to my son over and over again. And it's like, how do I get a different result? Because the same thing isn't working. And when you go through your life feeling like day to day that your life isn't working and you're nearing 40, and that's an age where you feel like you should have it together and you feel like you're kind of falling apart inside because you're feeling like you're stuck doing the same thing, that's kind of an age that's, I think, a paradox. Well, anyway, that's my take on the midlife crisis, and maybe some of you might relate to that. Anyway, but that's my take on, what I've been experiencing lately, and I hope somebody can relate to that and maybe not feel alone. Have a good day.